Hi, Pam. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Good, thank you. I really appreciate you being here with me today. As you know, we're working on our capstone project, and as part of my heysally.chat website, I wanted to highlight amazing women in my circle, and else to know about you. So, do you want to give a little introduction about yourself?
Sure. My name is Pamela Rose. I live in Seattle, Washington. I work in the aerospace industry. I started in aerospace right after my bachelor's. I have my bachelor's of business from New Mexico State University. And I have jumped around a little bit from company to company, but pretty much stayed in the aerospace transportation industry. And I love it. I am currently a customer service manager at an avionics aftermarket repair station.
Very cool. What was the best piece of advice you were given when you were starting out?
When I was starting out, I was given advice to always see the person, always see people, see the people behind the process, see the people behind the paperwork, always see the people. I went on and had a lot of mentors and managers tell me that there's no such thing as bad people, there's only bad processes. And I always try to live by that and try to that you see people for who they are, understand that they are human, they are not perfect. They have emotions and feelings and they have a heart. And, very few people show up and go to work to make mistakes and have a bad day. We all have a lot going on in our personal lives. And so I think by having that advice very early on and trying really hard to live by that and really just see the people around me, I feel like it makes me a good manager, and it feel like it helps me create a stronger relationship with my employees and my coworkers.
What is your favorite thing about your workspace?
So I thought this question was funny because when you say workspace, I think now with the pandemic that takes on a whole new meaning.
Mhm.
I take calls at 5:30 from my car during my commute, and that's my workspace. I work from home in the evenings. One of the things about working in international business is, there's always customers needing things. There's always suppliers needing things. So my workspace is everywhere. Currently, because of the pandemic, my building is under construction. So I am quite literally in the storage closet. We needed space to spread everyone out, and they cleaned out a storage room, and that is my current office. And so when I saw this question, I was kind of laughing by it because our workspace should not define who we are. There's so much, where I came up in business, it was, the corner office with a window.
Yeah.
And I think that when I hear that now, I think of segregation from employees. I think about like a very hierarchy structure. And I kind of, when I saw this, I kept thinking as I looked around my storage unit that I'm in, you know, our workspace should not be defined by the physical. It needs to be defined by, are we comfortable? Are we happy? Is it where we can be productive, where we can be creative, where we can be innovative? And if it's not, then what can we change about it? My workspace has a picture of my daughter taped on my computer because that's a lot of my motivation is to be a role model for her. And but other than that, it's nothing fancy. And but what I like about it is the fact that it's mobile.
You're hitting it right on the nail because at the end of the day, as long as a manager is trying to do right by what is right for her or him, as well as the team, that corner space doesn't really mean anything, right? Other than the fact that you're sitting there and it should be open to the rest of the team. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. And I think it's, kind of to build off of that, your space should not define you.
Yeah.
You should not. I think, and I agree with you. I think when we started out, I know we're close to the same age. When we started out, it was yeah, you climbed the corporate ladder, that they had. You wanted that corner office at the top corner. But I feel like back then too, there was such a division.
Yeah.
My first job, I remember that the president was literally in the top corner office. Um, where today the GM is literally on the floor with our technicians. He has a small little office down there. How much times have changed, especially I think with a lot of our open office concepts. And I'm really curious to see now with this pandemic and so many people working virtually, how that's going to change even more. and how, I'm hoping that, through all of this, the definition of a manager, of a good leader, is no longer defined by how nice their office is, but by what they do for their employees and for their organizations.
Yeah, I agree. Okay, next question. Name the biggest overall lesson you've learned throughout your career.
I think it's a hard one for anyone in life, and you learn that you can do everything right and everything will go wrong. I had to learn, when I came into the industry, it was kind of like, my parents are a little older, so they're, of that generation that's right between the greatest generation and the baby boomers. So I was kind of raised, hard work and integrity gets you far. And so I came into the workforce with this idea that all I had to do is work hard and, be honest, and everything will go great. And I feel like for the most part, that worked until I became a manager. And then you had to realize that no matter how much you care about an employee, they might not be a good fit and you might have to let them go. No matter how much you try to train someone, it just might not be a good fit. How you make the best decision with the best information you have, and everything will go south and you end up losing or failing. And so I had to learn really, really fast that the idea is to do the best you can, but no, it may not always turn out. And that the best thing you can do is pick yourself up, dust yourself off, and keep going again. And don't ever give up. And I think we've talked a lot I know during this program about resilience. And I really think that's the lesson I've learned, is like that resilience within you, to realize that on the worst of days, picking yourself up and going at it again, trying again.
Yeah, and on the other side of that, when we're talking about failure, we kind of make it sound like it's a bad thing. We don't want to fail. We want to be perfect. We want to succeed right away. But oftentimes, at least for me, I feel like through the failures is where I learn the most, grow the most, and then is often most challenged, right? Because if everything came easy, we really wouldn't have that resilience to begin with. So that's an interesting concept, and I'm embracing that now later in my career and later in my life. But when I was 20, 25, like there's no failure.
Oh, yes.
I'm going to succeed. And my ego was very big, So is there any, that's a great point. Is there any lessons, not lessons, but suggestions for maybe the younger women or the younger folks that are coming into the professional life to, when you're in it, how do you deal with it, knowing that you're in that moment of failure and feelings of, not good feelings? Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. And I think the most important thing I would say to anyone is find your team, find your support network. At work, in your professional life, in your personal life. I feel like you and I are this way. Have that person that you can call, that you can lean on, who, people may or may not be in a similar situation to you. They may not understand exactly what you're in, but have someone that you can, reach out to and kind of, tell them how you're feeling, how you're doing. Call them up and be like, I just feel like I just had the worst time at work and I feel like I can't do anything right. I think it's those connections. And I don't think it has to be in person. I think we've learned now, it's on video and phone and chat. And sometimes you just need words of affirmation. And sometimes the best people to give that to you are your friends, are your family. I would, encourage anyone to, find a mentor. And I know a lot of times we say mentors and we think of like someone older, more experienced within the same company. But I would encourage people to find a mentor that is out there. My mentor, I've actually never worked with. He and I met years ago, were introduced and realized we see the world a lot of the same way. He is a little bit older than me, a little bit more experienced. But I think because we are so much alike as people, that when I come to him with those types of concerns or, just how I'm feeling, he's able to really guide me because he knows me so well and knows what I need to hear. And so I would really encourage people to build those connections.
Those are good points. Mentorship is huge, and it doesn't have to be just one person, right? You can have one person for this quality that you're looking for, one person for this quality that you're looking for, because we're humans. We all have flaws and we all have good qualities, and I think that's how I tend to surround myself is, oh, Rochelle, she's so positive and she's light and she's sun. Everything that comes out of her makes you feel warm and wanted. I want to be more like that. Pam, she's so strong, she's so assertive, she's quiet and thoughtful. I need to hang out with her more so I can emulate her behavior when we're in, crisis mode or something. Those are the type of things that I look for in my circle as well. So what you're saying makes complete sense. I like it.
Yeah, I think we learned in the class ORGL 605, we talked about building your posse and who's your posse. And I think that's, of all the things, we've learned, I think that is the most important thing that I would pass on to younger people is, yeah, you need that connection.
Yep. Okay, next question. What does this world need more of and less of?
I'm just gonna go there. I think we need more love and we need less hate. And that will, I think, has always been my answer, always will be my answer. I find what's very difficult is, for me professionally, I have worked in a global industry almost all 22 years of my career. I have worked with people in countries all over the world. I lived in Europe for a while, and I can see where, on a personal basis, I can see on a professional basis, where cultures can come together and do great things. And why that can't expand and why we can't be more loving and more accepting towards each other, I don't understand. I never will. I will never understand a lot of the hate that goes on in our world. I thought that, the older I would get, I would come to have a greater understanding of that. I would be able to understand where people are coming from, and I haven't. And I just, I look around, especially, living in Seattle, we have, a lot of homeless, we have mental health issues, we have drug addiction problems. And I look at the sheer anger people have towards those things. And I look at how people, time and time again, we've failed. I feel like we've failed people. It's like we're this great globe now. I mean, we have self-driving cars, we have all of these amazing technologies, and yet we can't solve the most basic things, such as feeding people.
I don't think that's a can't, right? I think it's a don't want to, or not motivated enough is what it comes down to. And, or at least we don't have enough people to do it the way that we need to do it to take care of everybody. And we talk about that in our classes, why do we choose not to? Why is there such polarization around those decisions? And I think that's what's the great thing about our team and our group and our cohort, our group. We know each one of us are out there doing our part in balancing the negative and doing what we can to help where we can. But if everybody could do it, give more love, whatever your definition of love is, give more of it, and our world would be a completely better place. So, which of your traits are you most proud of?
I think I am the most proud of my integrity, because I feel like no matter what happens, I will always have my integrity. And that is something that is extremely important to me. I feel like when I say something, I want it to be true. I want it to be genuine. And when I say I'm going to complete something, I want to do it. I think a lot of that comes from my parents. Again, I think with their generation, integrity was so important. And I see where that has really benefited me. Not only is it very much my core moral compass, but I think when you have integrity, just to give you an interesting, kind of for my career. So I worked for a company for about 14 years, worked very hard, worked my way up. I became a manager in that company, and then that company closed. And I went a different route with my career for about 8 years. And 8 years later, which happened to be this summer, I got a call from someone who worked with me 8 years ago and said, "Hey, we have a position open, come work for us." And when I asked him, "What made you think of me?" He's like, "Because I know who you are, and I know your integrity. And I know," he's like, "when we interview you, when you take this job, that you're going to come in here with everything you've got, and you won't take it unless you know you can do it." And so I could see where integrity, actually led to my current position. And that's what's important to me.
And it is important because, coming from my culture, and I didn't understand it when I was younger, like many things that our parents tried to teach us, right? Is, your reputation, your word, it does matter. Just because it's not a tangible thing, it does matter. And I used to be like, Mom, whatever, there's people who supposedly have good reputations and stuff, but they're horrible human beings, so why worry about what other people think of you? But it's not the fact that it's what other people think of you, it's what you think of yourself and what you portray. And as long as you're consistent in that messaging, that will always, it balances out, right? So if somebody is thinking negatively of you or portraying you in the wrong way, others can sit there and say, well, we know Pamela, that's not consistent with her message, and that's not consistent with who we know of her is or are, or who she is. And it helps mitigate those things, especially in competitive workplaces or places that aren't healthy. You'll get a lot of that. And that's one of the things that I've benefited from, in past jobs, where there's the he said, she said, or whatever. And it helps knowing that people know who you are, that you're consistent in that, and that you bring the same you and what you say you're going to do to the table. What is your no fail go to when you need inspiration or get out of creative rut?
Nature.
Yeah.
I would say that's why I kind of chose to live in Seattle where I do. I feel like escape to nature, however and whatever that means with my time. I sail. I love to go kayaking on Green Lake. I sail in the Sound, paddle boarding through the slough. I will go hike Discovery Park. And sometimes maybe it's just sitting on the hill in Magnolia and watching the ferries go by. There's a spot where if the orcas are in, you can actually see them. They'll come pretty close up to the cliffs of Magnolia. Watch the boats go through the locks, watch the sea lions eat the salmon. Just there's so much nature here. And so that's my way of reconnecting. And every case is different. Sometimes it's I need to just clear my mind, and by clearing it of all the distractions, whatever's stuck will kind of bubble to the top. Sometimes I need to take inspiration, from nature itself. I often, talk at work how at the end of the day, everything we really do has a foundation in nature. Especially, where I work, we talk a lot about Lean and Six Sigma and process and flow.
Mm-hmm.
Well, all those ideas came from nature, the way a river, carries logs down. And we use nature. We love, nature so much in our world. So I think just by connecting to it, you can find inspiration and just, kind of find a new energy.
Name a fear or professional challenge that keeps you up at night.
I think for me at this stage, it's failing my employees. I have, like so many people, had bad managers and bad leaders in the past. And I'm old enough now, I think, with enough experience to know that, like we were just commenting earlier, people don't set out to do those things.
Yeah.
And so I feel like, okay, well, how many of those times did that manager speak without thinking? How many times did they just not think through a decision? And yet the employees paid the consequences. And so for me, I think that's my biggest fear as a leader, is letting them down. Doing something, making a bad decision, whether I mean to or not. And so I stay up a lot, thinking about like the decisions I'm making and the impacts they're going to have on everyone in my company. And am I making the right decision for all of us? Because we're a team. And just kind of those kinds of decisions. I know we talked a lot in our ethics class in ORGL 610. I think the hardest decisions to make as a leader are when you have two right decisions.
Yeah.
But which one is more right? And, the reality is when you become a leader, it's not all easy. It's not all black and white. There's not always one easy answer. And it's when it's those hard decisions. And that's where you're like, okay, am I really seeing everything? If I make this decision, is someone going to pay the price? And I don't mean for them to.
This is a fun one for me because we're working on this as well. What is your personal or professional motto?
So it's obviously I've taken this from somewhere, and I honestly do not know who the author is. It's been around, but I love the statement of keep your head, heels, and standards high. And that has always been my favorite motto, because I think as a leader, as a woman, as an employee, as a mom, the idea of keeping your head high. Like we said, failure comes around. You've got to find resilience, but keep your head high. Keep your confidence up there. Keep going, and don't back down. And when I think of your head high, I know we were in the 605 where we were walking, and I was a long time ago when I was getting my bachelor's. They told us as females always wear high heels, because when you wear high heels, you have to stand up straight. If you start to slouch or pull back from something, you will fall. And by wearing heels, you force yourself to stand tall. You force yourself to look people in the eye. You force yourself to stand there and have an appearance of confidence. And so I always liked that, because it reminded me that, especially being a female in a very male-dominated industry, not to back down, not to slouch down, that have confidence in yourself, have confidence in who you are. And I like the idea of wearing high heels, to me, because it is a connection to my femininity. Just because I work in a male masculine industry doesn't mean I'm not feminine. And I'm not in touch with that side of myself. I love high heels. I love high heels. And yes, I will walk through an aerospace repair station in high heels. I wear them today. And not because, they force my hair. I wear them now because I like them. And they are a feminine touch that I'm going to wear because I choose to wear them. And I like to wear them. And the last one was, keep your standards high. And I think that's true. And we often, I know that saying was originally taken to mean more of a personal, but I take it also to be a professional. Keep your standards high. Don't settle. And I mean that for, for people. Don't ever settle. Have confidence in yourself, know your self-worth, and fight for it.
Yeah, because in every industry, any area, someone's always going to tell you, oh, the grass looks greener over there, but it's not. What we have here is as good as you're going to get it. I heard that at my last job, and I'll be the first one to tell you, anyone who asks, is the grass greener? Yes, it is greener. And I'm glad I took that step to come here, because if not, I would have stayed where I wasn't valued for my full potential. What is the first thing you do every morning to start your day on the right foot?
Coffee, and more coffee. I am not a morning person. I do not like mornings, but my work morning starts at 4 a.m.
Wow.
So my coffee pot goes off at 4 a.m. And yes, it's extremely painful. And whoever said like things become habit at 30 days, I'd really like to talk to them, because I've been at this for 22 years and it still does not work for me. You find what works for you and find who you are. Because trust me, at 4 a.m., I have tried every list on Pinterest, how to make your morning go well. Let's get up and have a smoothie and let's go for a 3-hour walk. It's like, yeah, that's not reality. For me, because I am not a morning person, I have learned that my night, everything has to be laid out. My outfit has to be picked out, every piece of the outfit, because I will lose shoes right in front of my face at 4 a.m. And just everything has to be, prepped, ready to go so I can get out the day.
Okay, next question. If you were given $100 million, would you pivot from your current career path, and how so?
Yes, I absolutely would. I love my job. I do. I love my industry, but I have to honestly say that, it pays well. And unfortunately, we do live in a society where we need, money to pay for, medical, for college, for all those kinds of things. But if money wasn't really an issue, no, I would love to put my skills and abilities towards something that's more along the lines of charity. I think there are so many great organizations out there. You look at what, the Red Cross does and the United Way and Doctors Beyond Borders, Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. I mean, there are so many organizations out there that are doing such amazing work. And you know, to be able to put my effort into something like that, I think it would give my life a much stronger meaning, and it would give it a value that is non-monetary. And so I would definitely shift careers.
What resources would you recommend to someone starting in your current industry?
I would encourage anyone to get heavily involved on LinkedIn. LinkedIn is a great source to learn about companies, to learn about people, to connect with people in the industry. I think that's the first place to start, and do your research. When a lot of people think of aerospace, they instantly think of Boeing or the airlines. They think of Alaska or American. There are literally thousands of players in the aerospace industry. You know, my company makes the avionics equipment that how the pilots fly the plane. You know, you've got the pilots, you've got pilot training, you know, simulators that the pilots use to train on. You have a company that makes the plastic trays, the seats, the lights. Aerospace is huge. And then it goes on to defense. I work a lot with the Air Force and the Navy. So you have the whole military side. You also have space. My company has a division that works on space. They're prepping for Mars right now. Collins Aerospace, who I work for, actually was the one that did the radio communication from the first landing on the moon. So there's a lot of different facets within aerospace. So really do your research. There's a lot of companies out there. What I like about it is a lot of these companies are very small. They're a lot more like a mom and pop type company, and a lot of people like to work for them. I would say another resource is, especially for women who are looking to break into aerospace, you don't have to be an engineer. You do not have to be technical. There is a whole business logistics side of things. That's what I do. There's a lot of those jobs out there. So just think, because you're not technical doesn't mean you can't break into the industry. And there is a great organization out there. It's called Ladies in Leadership in Aerospace. And it is a global support network for women. And we also have support partners, which are men that are in this organization. And it's to create just a network for women and for people who support women in the industry. And it's great. It's a great way to get to know people, to get to know what jobs exist in aerospace and more of the companies that are out there.
Very cool. So that is the end of our questions, I believe. Is there anything else that we can end this off with, or I think we're good?
It was great. Thank you.